Welcome, guys. We're going to talk about photosynthesis. So, I'm going to give you a little background, basis, and things like that, and then we're going to jump into two processes of photosynthesis: light independent, or light dependent reaction. Sorry, and the Calvin cycle, which used to be called the light independent reaction. It's a bad name, so we don't call it that anymore. All right. So, what does photosynthesis? Valid question. All right, we'll talk more about this down the road, but what we commonly refer to as autotroph. So anything that makes its own food doesn't mean it grows it, means it makes it from sunlight. Okay? So plants, algae, protista, some prokaryotes, they essentially feed off of the sun and it brings it in. We turn that sunlight energy into stored energy, sugars, and we'll turn around and use that sugars in cellular respiration, which we'll be coming up on soon enough. All right, so nature of sunlight. Let's talk a little bit about this. There we go. All right, so nature of sunlight. Light is in the form of the electromagnetic spectrum. All right, this is the entire range. The electromagnetic spectrum is just the entire range of energy or radiation. So you got everything down here from broadcast radio waves, AM, FM, all right, which are these big, huge, long waves, microwaves, which are fairly large comparative, infrared, heat, and then this tiny little window. No, it doesn't look tiny here, but tiny window is the visible light spectrum. And that's where we get Roy G. Biv. All right, and then you get ultraviolet, X-ray, all the way down to gamma radiation, which is very, very short, and in excessive doses does not turn you into the Incredible Hulk, despite what Marvel would have you believe. It'll jack up your cells really bad and most likely give you cancer. All right, so here's our visible spectrum. Like I said, it's a very, very narrow range, only 380 nanometers to 750 nanometers. All right. This one's kind of flipped from the last one. So long waves down here, short waves. So these are the longer ones, shorter. Okay. So plants have quite a few pigments. Actually, we usually see, and most oftentimes we just see the green pigments. All right, the chlorophylls. So we got two of them. We got chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Okay. So remember, when we see what the color we see is actually the light that is kicked back into our eyeballs. So chlorophyll A and B actually absorb most everything other than this portion right here, which guess what color this is? Green. Okay. So remember the color we see is the color that's getting reflected back to our eyes. Okay. So our three main pigments that we talk about when we talk about plants, chlorophyll A and B, and then last but not least is carotenoids. Right now, since it is fall, this is kind of what we're seeing, those carotenoids, those orangey, yellowy kind of colors. Okay, that's what the carotenoids are picking up right now. All right, so a little bit about the structure of a plant leaf. So chlorophyll, or chloroplast, sorry, is the main organelle we talked about when we talked about organelles that is going to help us, not help us, help plants do photosynthesis. Okay, so what we got going on is there is the pigment chlorophyll in chloroplast. Okay, so if we're looking at a leaf, we have all these different types of leaf cells and leaves. We have a couple different types. We got spongy mesophyll, all that stuff. We're not going to get into that. Each one of these cells, either this one or this one, they're going to have little tiny chloroplasts. We break those down here, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about the individual components of chloroplasts. So we'll talk more about this too. CO2 enters and O2 leaves. So we breathe out CO2, plants breathe in O2. and everything makes sense, and it makes the world go round, essentially. All right, so in the chloroplast, you find main type of cells, that mesophyll cell, like all these bad boys right here. Okay. All right, all these here are the spongy mesophyll. Okay. And then you have in each one of those cells, you have a chloroplast. Chloroplast is broken down into a couple of different things, right? You got thylakoid, grana, all right, and stroma. So a thylakoid is one single pancake, for lack of a better way to put it. All right, so it's one green disc. Okay. The grana is the stack or the whole thing. So one is a thylakoid, the stack is the grana, and the stroma is all around. So boom, boom. Thylakoid would just be one disc. Okay? So thylakoid, one disc, grana, whole stack, stroma is the space in between. But it's like right, so it's like cytoplasm for chloroplast. Okay. All right. So once again, the chloroplast takes in that solar energy, reflects off that green light. We're going to try to absorb as much as we can. Here's a granum, whole thing, thylakoid, one disc, and the stroma is all this in and around. Okay. So what we're going to make and what we're going to do in the light-dependent reaction is make ATP and NADPH. We're going to make these molecules. We're going to send them down the line to the Calvin cycle. In the Calvin cycle, we will make the sugars. So the Calvin cycle actually makes sugar. So in one place, the light-dependent reaction, we make the products and essentially the energy that is needed for turning that into turning carbon dioxide into sugars. Okay. So just once again, reiterate. So if you've seen this 3 times now, all right, think about, is this going to be on a quiz or a test? Probably. Okay. So thylakoid, one stack, whole daggum thing. All right, granum. All right. Stroma is all that space. Don't worry about lamella. All right. We're not too worried about that. Okay. All right. So we're going to finish this video with a photosynthetic equation. Okay. So CO2 plus H2O with the addition of light and energy go to make sugar and oxygen gas. Now, up here at the top of this, you see I have the balanced equation. We got 6 CO2 plus 12 H2O go to make, plus light energy, make 1 sugar, aka glucose, okay, plus 6 oxygen gas molecules and 6 water gas molecules. Okay, so there's the equivalent amounts of carbon and hydrogen on both sides. You got 6, you got 6, you got 12, 24, 6 plus 18 plus 2 more, 24. All right, so you got everything you need here. So like I said, as we can see, all the reactants end up in all the products that get rearranged through process, and we're going to talk about that. But it all happens. All right, so once again, this is my point to stop and remind myself to stop running my mouth, give y'all a break, and bring these notes in tomorrow. We will go over them, and you can ask any questions. All right, see y'all tomorrow.